Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been quite a long time. A lot has happened since the last time I've talked to you guys. And just a little trigger warning, this video talks about trauma, it talks about a dog attack, and it talks about the healing that comes with the trauma, so viewer discretion is advised. Hey everyone, just popping in here to say I'm not at a party. It's just my editing setup. There are children in my house there were children in my house when I was filming this, so I'm sorry if you can hear them like running around and being loud and stuff. I told them to shut up, but they didn't listen. And my mom also talks in some of this, and she talks really loud. So if you're wearing headphones, you're probably gonna hear that. But yeah, I just wanted to pop in and say that. So thanks and sorry. I will also be showing you guys my wounds from the attack. So once again, viewer discretion is advised. But I just want to start this off by saying thank you to everyone who has supported me in this journey so far. If you know about the journey, it's been a wild ride. And second thing, I got my hair done. I told y'all I was gonna do this, didn't I? I said I was gonna bleach my roots, and I did. It goes all the way around my head. Like, all of my roots are bleached everywhere, and it's just so cool. I have never been so in love with my hair. Like, this is the coolest thing I've ever done. It goes all the way around, you know. Sorry, I can't do a full 360 with my head. That would be weird if I could. But yeah, well, it wasn't necessarily my idea to make this video. My psychiatrist and my therapist think that the more I talk about it, the more it helps me get through it. So that's why I wanted to do this. I had previously filmed a video and I did a look kind of like the one I'm gonna do today, but I deleted all the footage. I was like, now is just not the right time to talk about it. There's never a right time to talk about trauma, ever. That's one thing I've had to realize. But talking about it is hard for me because I'm reliving the story and what happened to me. But it's also good for me because I'm reliving it, and being able to talk about what I went through does help. It does hurt a little bit because it's hard to talk about what I went through. But let's just get right into it. Once again, viewer discretion is advised. There's talks about trauma, body harm. I was in the hospital. There's talks about needles and stuff. So viewer discretion is advised. So let's just ignore my acne. Please, can we always ignore it? It's something I really struggle with because, like, I'm 23. Why do I still have high school acne? And like, this is even worse than my high school acne. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I've gotten blood tests done. I've gone to the dermatologist. They say the only thing that can help me right now is Accutane. And if you know anything about Accutane, I'm not doing that to myself. So it's something I'm really insecure about. And I can make a video on that another time. This is about my trauma and what I went through. So please just don't look at me. But like, look at me. But like, don't. You know? Please forgive me if I start crying during this video. It's still pretty recent, so it's really hard to talk about. I went through something really traumatizing on May 30th. I was taking my dogs out for the last walk of the day at 8:30. I had to get up early for work the next day, so I was holding a cheese stick in one hand and I was grabbing my dog's leashes, but I went to unlock the door first, and I was trying to have the cheese stick in my hand because I was trying to feed my brother's dog. My parents, and my brother's girlfriend all went out of the country to celebrate my brother's and my dad's birthday, and I didn't go because it just wasn't a good time for me to go financially, and you know, someone had to stay at home to watch the dogs, so I sacrificed everything to stay at home with the dogs. And this was their last walk of the day. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to talk and do this at the same time. This is gonna be really hard. I unlock the door and I'm in the process of grabbing their leashes when my brother's dog, Brady, I'm watching both dogs. I'm watching my personal dog and my brother's dog, Brady. And Brady is very smart. If any of you guys have been around Brady, you know that he knows how to open doors. He puts one paw on the lock and one paw on the handle, and that's how he can open doors. When I was telling animal control my side of the story, I was like, you are not going to believe me, but my brother's dog knows how to open doors. And he's like, no, I believe you. I've seen it before. And I was just like, oh, okay. It's so hard for me to talk about. I'm so sorry. The whole point of this video is for me to talk about it, and I just like am having a really hard time talking about it. Brady opens the door when he sees my neighbors walking by with their 2 pit bulls and this other dog that they have. I don't know what kind of dog it is. One of their pit bulls is a foster pit bull. They foster dogs. And so Brady sees them walking by, and of course, he decides that he wants to open the door and go out there and say hi, I guess. Y'all, this is not working out for me. A lot of things haven't been working out for me the past couple months. It's fine. So Brady shoots outside, and I broke my foot at the beginning of April while playing with Brady. I had been drinking, and Brady plays hide and seek because he knows how to open doors, so it's super fun. But it just was not a good idea for me to be playing with him, and I fell and landed on my foot. My foot, like, this is my foot. My foot went like this underneath my leg. Yeah, so there's that. Brady decides that he wants to shoot outside, and since I can't run because I was recovering from my broken foot, I continue calling him. I'm like, Brady, get over here. And Brady approaches my neighbors, and he's just smelling, just sniffing, and then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. And my neighbor's dog start attacking Brady. And Brady, he fights back. That's what he's always done, is when he has to defend himself, he defends himself. So he's fighting back, and then my neighbors just start yelling and yelling, like, come get your dog. They're yelling at the dogs to stop, like they're gonna listen, I guess. Like, what did you expect from a dog? I'm really trying my best to talk and do this at the same time, but it's not really looking good for me. So my neighbors continue yelling and yelling, and I finally make my way over there. So Brady and this dog are going at each other, and my neighbors are yelling at me to do something. They're like, get your dog, put your dog on a fucking leash, get your dog. And I'd been involved in a dog fight before with our previous dog. Like, she just did not get along with my neighbor's dog at all. And so I knew that, like, getting involved in a dog fight is not a good idea, but, like, it's your baby, you know? I've known Brady since he was a puppy, and I guess my neighbors didn't know that I shouldn't get involved in a dog fight either, obviously, because they're yelling at me to do something. I decide that I'm going to reach my arm down into the dog fight, because their foster pit bull was just sitting there, not involved in the fight at all. So I decided I'm going to approach that way because the dog is just sitting there, not doing anything. So I reached down to grab Brady's collar, and that's when I just feel pain. And I'm like, what? And I look down, and their dog has me here. My arm is in its mouth, and it's tugging on my arm, and I'm just sitting there, like, I'm just letting it happen. I'm like holding my arm like this. I'm wearing my watch on this arm, so it bites around my watch. Okay, so my watch is here, and it has me here, and then it lets go, and it bites me here, and then it lets go, and then it bites me on the hip. And I think it realized it couldn't get a good grip on my hip, so it let go. While all this is happening, my neighbors aren't doing anything. Like, they're just yelling at their dog to stop. They're not doing anything except yelling. And I think that just escalated the situation to what it became. I think them yelling just stressed out their dogs so much. Those are not really even, but I also don't really care because my trauma is not even either. After I get attacked by this dog, I'm just standing there in shock. I start bleeding, and I'm like a little freaked out by what happened. And I look at Brady, and he is pinned to the ground by his neck by their personal pit bull. So I immediately see red in that moment, and I'm just like, oh my God, they're going to kill Brady. Like, she's going to kill Brady. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Me freaking out definitely did not help the situation, and that's when I reach in and grab the dog that's attacking Brady by her collar, and I rip her off of him as hard as I can. Just throw her as hard as I can. And I got Brady freed, and he goes running back into my yard. My dog, Vanny, was just standing in my yard the entire time. He did not get involved in the fight at all. And for that, I'm super grateful, because if that had been Vanny underneath that dog, the damage done to me would have been so much worse. I would have lost it. After Brady goes running back into my yard, I stand there with my neighbors in shock, and I look at my arm. It's dripping blood. And my neighbors, this part just like, it makes me so mad. It makes me so mad looking back on it. It makes me so mad. My neighbor's wife turns to me and she says, "Put your fucking dogs on a leash." That's what she says to me while my arm is bleeding, while I'm in pain. So I just start walking away, and I'm starting to walk back into my house, and that's when the shock kicks in. I'm just like, oh my God, what just happened to me? And I didn't have my phone on me because I was taking them for a walk. Like, why would I keep my phone on me? So I go inside the house, and I make sure the dogs are inside the house, and I call my boyfriend. And of course I'm freaking out on the phone, and I'm standing over the sink at this point calling him, and I'm just like, please come get me, please come get me. My neighbor's dog just attacked me. Like, there's a huge gash in my arm. Like, please come get me. And at this point, I hadn't really looked at my arm to see what the damage was to it. Like, I had just seen a little bit of the damage. And so while I was on the phone with Justin, I looked at my arm, and when I tell you there was a huge gash, Like, you could see my meat, bro. You could see the meat in my arm. It was huge. It was disgusting. It was bleeding. It was nasty. And I can't even describe how bad I'm panicking in this situation. I've had panic attacks before, but this was not a panic attack to me. Like, it did not feel like a panic attack at all. The best way I can describe it is it literally just felt like hell. Like, my emotions, everything just felt like hell. It hurt like hell. I was in pain. I was scared because I was alone. Like, I didn't know what to do. So Justin's like, okay, like, I'm on my way. Like, just calm down, just breathe. Like, I'm on my way. So I decide, after getting off the phone with Justin, that I'm going to call my parents. And this is their first night in the Dominican Republic. They're all at dinner together. And I, like, ruined the dinner. I called them crying. I FaceTimed them, and my mom could immediately see I was crying. She was like, what's wrong? And I held up my arm, but my mom gets really grossed out by all that kind of stuff. So I kind of just show her, like, the blood running down my arm. And she's like, oh my God. She hands the phone to my brother, and Chandler couldn't understand what I was saying because I could not breathe. Like, I genuinely could not breathe at this point. And so he hands the phone to my dad, and my dad's like, what's going on? And I tell him, like, I got attacked by the neighbor's dog, and Brady got into a fight with the neighbor's dog, and, like, that's why I was attacked, was because he got involved in the fight, and blah 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 blah. And I'm just trying my best to explain it to my dad at this point, because like I said, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't talk. I couldn't do anything. I was just in pain and shock, hurt. So while I am on the phone with my parents, there is a knock at the door. And I'm like, this can't be Justin. Like, this literally can't be Justin. How did he get here? I'm fully expecting to open the door to see Justin. Boy, was I wrong. I'd never been so wrong in my life. It is my neighbor whose dog just attacked me. And he pushes my dog inside the door because Vanny went up to the door to go say hi. He pushes him inside. He opens my door wider. He comes inside my house and he closes the door behind him. I'll leave you guys to sit with that for a second while I'm freaking out. Like, so first thing he says to me is, I assume your parents aren't home. I said, no, they're in another country. And he said, well, this can't happen. I have a dog at home that's limping. Really? I'm so sorry. I turned my whole body. I'm still holding my arm up as it's dripping blood. Remember? I'm still holding it up. And I just turned my whole body towards him. And I'm like, and he looks at me and he says, that would have never happened if your dog was on a fucking leash. Thank you guys for reminding me that my dog wasn't on a leash, because I forgot. I just let them outside. I opened the door and let them outside. Like, thank you for reminding me that they're not on a leash. Thank you. Thank you so much. I forgot. He walks out my door and I slam the door behind him and I say some things that I hope he did not hear. Even if he did hear, that's okay. But yeah, I said some things that I probably should not have said as he walked out the door. And my parents are still on the phone with me, so they heard all of this happen. And my parents are still in shock. Like, they don't know what happened because I couldn't, like, the connection wasn't so good and I was not good at speaking. Like, I was freaking out. I was having a panic attack. I could not speak. So they still don't really have my side of the story as to what happened. So my dad tells me, he's like, oh, well, your neighbors are neighbors that we trust and love. He's like, they're at home. Go over to their house and get them to help you. Get them to calm you down. Like, go over to their house. And I'm like, okay. So I walk over to my neighbor's house. And thank God they enter the door. And they start freaking out because they see the blood and they can tell I'm freaking out. And so I tell them to my best ability what happened. And I'm like, someone needs to come check on Brady. Like, I don't know. Like, Brady was the least of my worries, like, coming back into the house. Like, I just wanted to make sure that, like, my blood would stop dripping on the floor. And so I'm like, can you please come check on Brady? Please come check on Brady. And so we're all walking over to my house. And I hang up on my parents, and my neighbor calls my parents, and you know, he got the story from me the best to his ability, and he told them like what happened. Brady got out. And I just, like, it's just so hard for me to talk about. All right, I'm sorry, I had to take a little breather real quick. My neighbors are at my house. They're checking out my dog, and they're like, yeah, he definitely needs stitches. And my neighbor looks at my arm and she's like, you definitely need stitches. And I'm like, great. I've never had stitches before. So that's super fun. I'm so thankful that my neighbors were home this night, because if my neighbors had not been home, I truly don't know what I would have done. We decide to come up with a plan after Justin gets to my house, that Justin and his dad are going to take me to the emergency room, and my neighbors are going to take Brady to the vet. We get to the emergency room, and it's just like a terrible, terrible experience in the emergency room. Like, there's so many screaming kids. There's so many people crying. It's just not a good environment for someone who is freaking out to be in. But, you know, I had to be there. So it is what it is. But they took me very seriously at the emergency room, which I'm super grateful for, because I had never been attacked by a dog before, so I didn't know like the procedures you're supposed to follow, like with a dog attack. You know, like, it's an incredibly high chance of getting infected, so it's very serious. And I didn't really have to wait for long because of how severe it was, which only made my anxiety much more worse because of how severe my arm was. I had never been through something like this in my entire life, so it was just really hard to go through this. So while we're at the emergency room, my dad talks to my neighbor on the phone, and apparently my neighbor just said that it was an accident. Like, it's no one's fault. It was just an accident. And it kind of eases my nerves a little bit, because I'm like, okay, like, he realizes that, like, I didn't just let the dogs out willingly. In my mind, I knew that it was an accident, right? But it did not justify how I was feeling about the dog. Like, that dog that bit me wasn't involved in the fight whatsoever. Like, he literally was not involved whatsoever. So it was super hard for me to, like, agree with my neighbor on this, that it was an accident, because it just should have never happened, you know? So while we're at the emergency room, they asked me, whose dog was it? Is the dog up to date on its shots? And I had just gotten my tetanus booster, so I did not have to worry about getting a tetanus shot, anything like that. I could not tell you why I got my tetanus booster the time I did. They had just been begging me at the place I get my prescriptions from, the pharmacy. They had just been begging me, like, you need to get your Tdap, you need to get your Tdap. And so I finally I was so fed up with them annoying me about it. I just finally got it. And so for that reason, the emergency room was not so worried about me getting any illnesses from it. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Spoiler alert, I did get an illness from it. So, you know, I'm having to wait in the emergency room. I'm having to be taken back to get them to clean it. I'm having to wait. I'm having to be taken back for them to get my blood pressure and my temperature and all that stuff. So it's just sitting there waiting in that emergency room while there's other people there, like, just freaking out about whatever they're there for. Like, it was not good. It was not good. I felt like I was gonna puke. I was just not having a good time. I mean, I know that nobody has a good time in the emergency room, but I was really just not having a good time, okay? So they take me back to a room in the emergency room, and, you know, all the doctors and nurses coming in are being so nice. I have to get my arm x-rayed, but everyone was doing a really good job at keeping me calm. And I just kept crying and crying in the emergency room because I was so upset about my tattoo, because it bit me right on my tattoo. So I just kept crying and crying. And they were like, we're gonna give you something for the pain. I'm like, it's not the pain, it's my tattoo. Like, it's ruined, it's ruined. And they did such a good job at calming me down from that. They really did. But everything in the x-ray came back okay. Like, nothing was broken. It didn't bite through to anything important. And turns out that whenever you get attacked by a dog, the emergency room is required by law to report it. They asked me if I wanted to file a police report, and I called my dad because I'm like, are we filing a police report? Because it's my parents' house. So it's really up to them, you know? And my dad's like, no, we're not going to file a report. Like, we just came to terms that it was an accident, okay? They agreed it was an accident. So I end up getting 4 stitches and I get sent home. They wrap it up and they give me stuff to wrap it up with, and I get sent home. So that night, Brady ended up getting 6 stitches and he had to wear a cone. And I felt so bad for him. I felt so bad for him. And that night, I just couldn't sleep at all. Not only because it was so uncomfortable to sleep on my arm, but because I was scared. Like, I didn't know that, like, what my dogs would do in my sleep. I knew that they wouldn't hurt me because they've never hurt me before. But I didn't know that that dog was gonna hurt me, you know? I didn't know the pit bull was gonna attack me. It made me feel like I knew nothing about my dogs. Like it really did. And I hate that I felt that way. So the next day, my neighbor comes over, another neighborhood lady. She is the neighborhood dog walker, dog watcher whenever people go on vacation. And she came over and she was like, I want to hear what happened because I have something to tell you. So I'm like, okay. So I give her the story of what happened, and she's just in shock of the whole thing. She's like, they didn't do anything while it was biting you? And I was like, no, they just stood there and yelled. Like, okay. And she was like, well, I got attacked by that dog 2 days ago. And I was like, what? She was like, yeah, I went to meet the dog because I was going to be watching it and they wanted me to meet the dog. So I went over there and I was holding a bag of treats and I turned my back to the dog and it just attacked me. I was just like in shock by that, really. And she was like, yeah, it was on a shock collar and on a leash and they just stood there and let it attack me. Like, can you imagine being bit by someone's dog and like it was literally dangling from her arm? It bit her up here and it was literally just dangling from her arm. Like, can you literally imagine that happening to you while it's on a leash wearing a shock collar? So she's telling me her side of the story and she's like, yeah, and after it attacked me, the neighbors gave it a treat. And I was like, you know, that makes a lot of sense as to why it attacked me. Because it thinks attacking is good. Because they gave it a treat. Like, what kind of psycho do you have to be to give your dog a treat after attacking someone? You know, like, you're a psycho. And, you know, her telling me this story, like, it really made me feel less alone. Because I was just glad that somebody that I had known personally had been through something similar to me. You know, hers wasn't as severe as mine was. Like, she didn't have to go to the emergency room. But it was just still nice to have someone in, like, somewhat of the same boat that I was in. And so that felt really good to have her support. I can't even describe to you guys how lonely I was during all of this. Like, I had just never felt so alone in my life. Like, I didn't want to ask my friends to come over and support me. I mean, I had obviously posted about it on, like, I think my Snapchat. I posted about it and I told some people that I was attacked by a dog. And, you know, I tried to get the best advice that I could get from everyone, but, you know, not a lot of my friends, I don't think any of my friends had been attacked this severely by a dog before. So it was just super hard for me to find someone who knew what I was going through. I did have some family members that I could call whenever I was feeling lonely, and my cousin told me that she would come over to spend time with me, so we made plans for that. And I went to work the day after I got attacked. Well, 2 days after I got attacked, technically, because I was attacked so late in the night. And God, it was so hard going through what I went through. And I don't know if this is giving Moth the way I wanted to give Moth, but we're just gonna go with it. I'm sorry, I'm not really good at describing what I went through. Like, I'm just not, there's just no words for it. So anyways, my cousin comes over because, you know, she's coming to spend time with me, and she gets to my house Wednesday and she looks at my arm and it was leaking fluid from this bite, like leaking bad, like gross, like yellowish fluid. And you know, I never had an infection like this before, so I didn't know that that was a bad thing. I thought that like it meant that it was healing because it was like releasing the built up fluid it had in there or whatever. But she tells me that it's really infected and I need to go back to the hospital, like the emergency room, immediately. I don't go immediately. I wait a couple hours till my boyfriend Justin gets off work, and he takes me back to the emergency room. And I got in to see the doctor kind of fast because of how serious it was. But the doctor is like feeling up my whole arm, and he's like, girl, your whole arm is infected. And I'm like, oh, that's really fun. And he's like, we're gonna have to do blood results. Like, we're gonna have to take your blood and do blood tests. And so I start freaking out, and I'm like, oh, that's really fun, because I can't do needles. I can't do needles. And I already know what you adults are gonna say. You have tattoos. Until you have a tattoo and get blood drawn, you can't say anything. It is not the same feeling at all, like at all. So please don't hit me with that. I hate when people say that to me. You have tattoos, you can handle a needle. Right. So anyways, they do a blood test on me. They send me back to the waiting room. I'm in the emergency room for 4 hours. The entire time I'm there, it's a 4-hour period. We have to wait an hour for my blood results to come back. We waited an hour because they were super busy. And then we waited 2 more hours. They took me back into a room with like a door that closed. Like it was weird. It was like a closed off room to the emergency room. And they had me waiting in there. It was so cold that my hands were turning purple. That has never happened to me before. I was so cold. It was freezing. I don't even know if I had a fever at this point. I really didn't ask any questions. I didn't have anyone to ask questions to. We had been sitting there for so long. No one ever came to check on me. No one ever told me what we were doing or why we were waiting. No one said anything to me. So I was just super confused as to what was going on, and I decided to check my chart, which is, if you don't know what that is, it's like a website where you can see all your test results. And I got a notification that I had new test results. So I went through them, I screenshot them. Justin was looking them up. My cousin was texting me about it. And turns out my blood results came back very bad. Which meant that the infection had reached my bloodstream, which turned life-threatening because of the risk of sepsis. Now, I had no idea what sepsis was. I knew that it was like an infection thing, but I just had no idea. There's still like not really any communication on what I'm waiting for. They got mad at me because I had the blood pressure thing on my finger, and then I had the blood pressure thing on my arm, and they came in because I ripped them off because they were so painful. Like, it had to be on this arm because I had an IV in this arm. And this was the arm of the infection, so it would squeeze and it would like throb where my wound was. It would hurt so freaking bad. And then the pulsing, like I had nail polish on. A nurse finally comes in and she's like, so we're getting your room ready. I said, huh? She's like, yeah, we're getting your room ready. Did they not tell you that we were keeping you overnight? And I was like, girl, nobody has told me anything. And this was the same doctor that had cleaned my wounds from the first night. So it was just, or nurse, it was just really nice to have a familiar face in there, because of the anxiety that I was going through. Like having to sit there for 4 hours with a freaking needle in my arm for the IV. Like it was just, it was awful. It was terrifying. Never would have wished that on my worst enemy. So she's like, yeah, we're getting your room ready and you're gonna be in a shared room. Is that okay? And I was like, not really. Like, I would prefer my own room because of my anxiety right now. I just don't want to be around anyone else. And then she's like, oh yeah, by the way, like, your boyfriend can't stay because you're gonna be in a shared room. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm not getting my own room. Like, she's like, no, we're kind of like overcrowded right now. You have to be in a shared room. Like, cool. So Justin leaves to go get me dinner because I had not had anything to eat because we were in the freaking emergency room for so long, and I asked the nurse to give me a blanket. She gets me a blanket because I'm so freaking cold, and she hooks me up on an IV that has antibiotics in it. And at this point, like, no one told me how serious it was. They just told me they were keeping me overnight, which, like, I realized it was pretty serious because they wanted to keep me overnight. So that's how I knew it was serious. But I, like, looking at my blood results, I didn't know what anything meant. So I didn't know, like, how serious it was at that time. I had no idea that it was literally, like, life or death at this point right now. Like, I had no idea. Nobody communicated that with me at all. I am not even going to get into the roommate situation because I don't want to air out what happened to her. That's her story to tell. I look like a member of Kiss. Like, I'm like yikes. This is supposed to be a moth because it is my moth tattoo that got a little ruined. So I just wanted to do something that represented change, and there's a lot of stuff I could say about lunar moths that represent what they stand for and like the folklore behind lunar moths and stuff. But I don't really have time for that. I gotta finish the story about trauma. The hospital overnight stay was literally traumatizing. I knew that I hated hospitals and doctors and stuff, but I had no idea that I hated them this much because of what I went through. And, you know, I had requested to get my own room and I couldn't because they didn't have any available. And so having to, like, try to sleep with someone else in the room. My friend Haley, I literally owe you everything. Thank you so much for coming to stay with me. She came to stay with me. So I had her, but we couldn't talk. We couldn't laugh. She sat on my bed and we watched an episode of Big Mouth, but we couldn't laugh. We couldn't do anything because we didn't want to disturb my roommate. So it was impossible to be happy in that hospital room. And getting released, like, I can't even tell you the joy I felt getting released from that stupid hospital. They actually wanted to keep me overnight another night, but I said no because it was that bad. And I had them remove my stitches, so everything, like, worked out that I was at the hospital again, I guess, because I got my stitches taken out and stuff. Living through that has been really crazy. There's been a lot of stuff that has happened with my neighbors, and animal control got involved, and then their foster company got involved. My neighbors no longer have custody of the dog, the foster dog that attacked me. They no longer have that dog. I don't know what happened with the dog. I don't really want to know what happened with it. I just really hope it didn't go to another family, let alone a family with kids. I hope that maybe they made that dog a police dog or something where it can attack people on its own, you know, where it can attack people for good reasons and not bad reasons. I don't even know if that's like a thing that people can do. People, dogs, I don't know. It's been really hard living through it because I'm such an animal lover, and it's been really hard to be around animals, let alone dogs especially. It's been really crazy being around dogs. I feel like I can't be around a dog. I have talked to people who have said I will feel this way for the rest of my life, and I've also talked to people who've said I won't feel this way forever. But my therapist has also had a similar experience with a dog attack. She didn't get attacked, but she's still scarred from her dog getting attacked, and it's been 11 years. And so I know that this is something I will struggle with for the rest of my life, and that's something that has been really hard to come to terms with personally, is knowing that I'm gonna feel this way for a long time, and that's okay. Having to be okay with it is something I've been struggling with, because I don't feel okay, you know? And I do feel like I will feel this way for the rest of my life, and I really don't want to feel that way. That really sucks. So it's been really hard. One thing that has really helped me get through this is working out, being able to push my body, being able to heal from it has been great. Physically heal from it, not so much mentally, but being able to push my body while I'm working out has been like truly like an eye opening kind of thing for me, because it's like, if my body can heal, so can my mind. And reaching out to people that I hadn't talked to in a while, like I posted a little like essay thing that I wrote on Instagram and Facebook, and it helped me feel less alone, like a lot less alone. And it was just one of the reasons why it's been so hard for me to go through this, is because I had expected a lot of my friends to be there for me, because, you know, I'd always been there for them. And if they had gone through something like this, I would have dropped everything I was doing, and I would have called out of work to be there with them in the hospital. I would have dropped everything to be there with them so they weren't alone with their 2 dogs at home, you know? But it's okay. You can't expect that from everyone. People have lives and they're busy, and people just don't make time to be supportive, I guess. So I feel like I've lost a lot of friends in that sense of like knowing that they didn't support me, and it's just been really hard. It's been hard. If you guys have any recommendations for getting through trauma, or if you've been attacked by a dog, I would really love to hear your advice and your side of the story, and how you're doing now, and how you got through it, and things that have helped you get through it. I really need that connection with people right now. It will make me feel a lot less alone. And thank you to everyone who supported me through this really hard point in my life. It's been really hard, and I don't want to cry about it. I really don't. I forgot that I have these like black butterfly things. I could have used these. Put in my hair. No, that looks stupid. I look like a kindergartner. Anyways, there's a lot more to say about this story, and there's a lot more conversations that have been had between my neighbors and my parents, and how my neighbors feel about everything that went on, but it's just not my place to say that, especially on social media. Like, I just don't want to air out what they said publicly. Even though I don't have like a large following, it doesn't matter. I would be embarrassed if my neighbors heard what I had to say about them. So I'm not going to be that person that just shits on my neighbors for acting the way they did, even though I have every right to, because they acted the way they did with the situation. But I'm just not that kind of person to just air it out like that. So just know that there's much more to the story, and this is just my calmest side of the story that I could give to you guys. Yeah, I'll give you guys a little close-up of my wounds and my makeup look. So this is the wound on my arm. I have a small one up at the top. This was where the big gash was. It is healed in astronomical ways. It looked really rough. I wish I could put in a picture, but that you guys don't want to see that. And then this is the one that was infected. It's still super swollen and like full of infection. And it's been over a month now since this has happened, and it's still infected. This is where it got me on my hip. This is it fully healed. It's still like kind of swollen. Feels like it's infected. This felt like a bruise, but it just like, it's not a bruise and it hasn't gone away. So there's that one. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to heal with me, listen what I went through, help me grow. And it just means a lot that I have the people that I do have supporting me from it. You know who you are. Like I said, if you've ever been through something like this or you've lived through trauma, it would really mean a lot to me if you reached out to me and let me know how you cope with it and how you still get through tough times where you have to relive it and where you have nightmares. That's another thing, is I'm having really bad nightmares every night. It was like 5 nights a week whenever I first got attacked, and now it's like 2 or 3 nights a week where I get those really bad nightmares. It's like I wake up sweating, crying, shaking, like getting chased by a dog in my dream, getting attacked by my dog in a dream, my dog getting attacked by a dog in a dream, you know, just... It's been really hard, but I did get a new medication prescribed to help with the nightmares, so hopefully that helps. But I will definitely keep you guys updated on this journey, and thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I really hope I can connect with someone who's been through the same thing. And if you like this makeup look, please give this video a thumbs up. Please subscribe to me if you haven't already. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss whenever I post. And thank you guys once again so much for giving me the space to share my story. Thank you for listening. Thank you for continuing to support me, and I will see you guys in my next video, and hopefully it's not 3 months from now. So we should see, but thank you guys so much. Bye.